Right.
Okay, that's good. We're good.
So, all right, I see you were trailing and you were talking. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our December 1st meeting. How about that? We have Peter going to come up and pray with us. Four-way test and play.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together for this time of Rotary. We ask that you watch over us and guide us as we strive to make our community a better place to live for all. In your name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Great prayer.
And the pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and the pledge of the four-way test of the things we think say or do. First, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right. You know, I did. So it's team number 2. I think this would be your topic. Okay, perfect.
I actually have 2 updates today. Sunrise and Cope. We have, with Katie's help, we have the application out to the resource officers. I know you guys keep when I say resource officers, but that's what we have them out to them, waiting on our first application to grant the first needy family help this Christmas season. Secondly, we'll be doing a Rotarian auction. This auction is for you long-term Rotarians. Is something we did in 2018 and 19. Rotarians donated some items. Perfect time of year. That stuff you get for Christmas that you can't take back and you really don't want. Bring it in. We'll raise some money for our club. And this is for our operating expenses. Right. We've been raising a lot of money for Sunrise and Cope and other entities. This will be strictly for our operations here at the club, so we can continue to pay our district dues, so we continue to pay our rent here for our time that we spend here at the NKDB, and more to come. But this is one of the things that we had donated 6 years ago. It's been in my garage. My wife didn't want us to bring it in, but it's not ours. So this will be the first item donated on behalf for this auction. It'll be January 12th. It'll be right before Judge Executive Moore speaks that day. So we should have a hefty crowd and bring your bidding caps because we need to raise about $1,500. So thank you.
Sean. Yes. So let me understand this. The poster says Frank Sinatra, come blow your horn. And that's going to be, we're going to auction that off today. Gary Moore's coming to speak. Yeah. Okay. And you did that. Okay. All right. Hey, Thanksgiving, wonderful time of the year. Everybody, I hope enjoyed all your family and friends. And in my family, this is the quintessential holiday where everybody gets together, because Christmas is the big one, but everybody seems in such a rush and this and that and lots of other times. So I hope all of you were able to give thanks and know that I'm thankful for the group here that does so much for our community and all the good deeds you do for everyone and all the good people that you are. And hope was reborn. Yes, it was.
Amen.
On Thanksgiving Eve, and most of my family was fast asleep and they weren't waiting for the red man to come. But the Bengals pulled one off and gave us all hope. And it kind of reminds me of the Charlie Brown, where he's going to kick that field goal and Snoopy's going to pull away that ball, or Lucy's going to pull away that ball. Sure, Shay left them. But we know that hope is always a good thing, and it's a very good group to be around and very hopeful. I would tell you that I also just came from the funeral of a 70-year Rotarian, Mr. Ken Harper. Kim was involved with a gazillion things and obviously a long-term legislator from Northern Kentucky. He used to call it the Silk Stocking District. It went from Fort Mitchell down that way, where back in the day that was considered a very affluent area of Northern Kentucky. And he many accolades for Ken, but one of his things is that he had a developmentally delayed child in his family, and he was part of helping two schools start back in the 50s, Riverside and Good Counsel, which then merged years later and became Riverside Good Counsel, and then eventually became Weaver Sections. So, good man, Ken Hartman. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sean. Going on the theme that Jim was sharing with us, we need to raise money. So if you have not paid your dues, please pay your dues. And at our last board meeting, one of the things we discussed was combining our different groups. It seems like team number 6 and 7, no, excuse me, 5 and 6 were kind of had needed more direction, and with the size of our club, having 7 groups just didn't seem like a manageable thing. So we're combining more to come on that from your team leaders. But you can see, if you remember what team you were on, what team you're on now. Paul, you want to talk about this a little bit about the toys pickup and such?
Yeah, the 8th of December is the cutoff date for the toy drive. And so I'll be seeking volunteers to go and gather toys up and deliver those to the Steinford warehouse down in Covington. And so anyway, I guess I'll get a little bit more into it on Monday of next week. But be thinking about helping us out. Dennis called me and said he would be willing, and I know George was, I don't see George here today, but the new member George was a very good help. And so was Barbara Keeling, as usual. She always rolls her sleeves up and really plows into everything she does.
Yeah.
And so she was a big help this year too. But anyway, so the 8th is next Monday. And we'll get it all figured out and we'll get the toys down to the Steinford.
Yeah.
2%.
And speaking of bars,
Oh,
we
wait,
have the
hold on.
Yep.
Did you miss me? I think I did. I didn't know.
So the toys all go to New Perception.
to you.
Yeah, for this, that's the methodology, and then Steinford will come and sort them all, and then take them back.
Gotcha. Well, this is the first year I've done this, so I'm still kind of green.
It's okay.
Anyway, appreciate that.
You're welcome. Have that out there.
On the 12th, we'll be at the Kroger's on Mall Road, ringing bells and getting money for the Salvation Army. We have a sign sheet over there. As you can see, we have plenty of blank spots. I need someone to keep me company, and Tiffany does as well, so. Working on our new website.
Okay, so I'm gonna show it. Okay, so the new website is up and functioning, but I need help filming content. This main area is coming from Easy Stories, which is the media and announcement, so it's getting posted in deck. Same thing down on the right-hand side, scroll down. This calendar area, that's also pulling from deck TV, so we're not maintaining things in different places. What I need help with is right here underneath our initiatives. All of our different programs, we need content on those pages. And some of you have been around for a long time and know the history. We had some content on the previous website, but it was very superficial. It'd be nice to have something more deep that really shares what our club is doing with the community. So if you or any of your teams can help with any of that, it would be very helpful. So a lot of times I just use ChatGPT, a bunch of facts in, and that formulates it nicely. But if anybody can help with that stuff, I cannot write all this myself. There's too much there. So if people could start kind of working on those, that would be fantastic. I would love to have a page with some history, so maybe we can get with Dennis and some of our long-term members to get a little bit of story about our history and put that on the website also. Kind of hijacking, so.
That's all right. Very good. With that. As you can see, there's 16 of us that are reporting our hours. It'd be helpful if we could get everyone to put in some hours. Each meeting is already taken care of, but if you are doing something outside of the club, you could register your hours. It's very helpful for us and for our district governor to keep him happy. Speaking of which,
Question on that. On ours, it'd be helpful if somebody would send out an email once a month to the membership, say, what are your hours for this month? I mean, it'd be a way to collect the data. And I would respond with, with some hours.
Okay.
And that would be very helpful.
If anybody has hours to report, I guess my position in DAC now, or maybe it was before, is I'm allowed to go and log your hours. So anyone who doesn't get into DAC should only be a few. Send me your hours, all reported his, no rotating reported his, and I just put it in for you. It's not a problem. But back to the point, I'll do, if everyone promises to read their emails, I'll be more than happy.
That's the issue. That's the issue.
From somebody else.
You read it.
but as you can see, we're going to have a district conference in, we are the host, being the host club, since the district governor is our beloved Greg Palm. So we're to come on that. Does anyone have any announcements for the club? And speaking of Dennis earlier, 42 years.
All right.
Gary Dreiser, 41. Nicely done. Any happy dollars? Okay, Julie, I'll get this one over here.
I actually wrote something down this time. Normally I would be good, but to me, this is very, very near and dear to my heart. So when my kids were in high school, there was a committee that got formed from the Council on Post-Secondary Education, and they wanted parents voices. We were struggling figuring out how to get our kids to school, what dual credits we're translating, where do they translate, how do they translate? And so I was honored to serve as a parent voice on that committee. What you're going to see today is the fruition of that work, like 4 years ago. Right. So this is very near and dear to my heart. So I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget. So it's truly my pleasure to welcome everybody today to explore the most exciting statewide initiatives supporting Kentucky's learners, families, and workforce. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julie Pyle, and I've had the privilege of serving on one of the original committees that helped shape what is now Futuriti. I never say it right.
Rhymes with maturity.
Maturity, that's the way I Kentucky's comprehensive one-stop for an education exploration platform. Working with Dr. Ellis of the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. Also wearing the hat of a Kentucky Board of Education member and in partnerships with organizations all across the Commonwealth. I've seen firsthand how important it is that we build a seamless, not P to 12, but P to 20 pipeline. From early childhood, K-12, post-secondary, and clear into the workforce. We all need to be lifelong learners. I've also had the honor of working very closely with Jessica Fletcher back to her days at the Pritchard Committee, which was quite some time ago, and then KY Stats. I can confidently say that her leadership has been instrumental in bringing Futuriti to life and making it accessible, meaningful, and impactful Kentuckians of all ages. As many of you know, Kentucky has something truly extraordinary. And this is, I get asked about it all the time when I travel, as part of a state board member, as part of my work. We have our KY stats data system, our infinite campus system, which is statewide and now Futuriti, brings directly students, parents, educational, and adult learners together. These are not just tools. These are powerful statewide resources that support decision-making, career exploration, and long-term success. As I travel to nationally to conferences and speak with leaders across the country, I am constantly asked about Futuriti, KY stats, and our infinite campus system. Very few states in the nation have such comprehensive longitudinal data systems that Kentucky has built. And I'm serious. I work in Delaware a lot. They are just now implementing Infinite Campus on a statewide basis. We've had Infinite Campus statewide for over 20 years. So think about all that longitudinal data that we have from kids when they're in kindergarten to when they're graduating. So Kentucky should be very proud. We're a Commonwealth that believes in access, transparency, and opportunity. We believe in helping every learner from preschool through adulthood find the pathway that is right. Today's program is really a celebration of that work. So it's my honor to introduce two individuals who are driving this progress forward. Dr. Amanda Ellis, Senior Vice President for Student Access and Success at the Council on Secondary Education, and Jessica Fletcher is the Chief Communications Officer, who has been one of the guiding forces behind its development and statewide rollout. And also, they were both recently promoted to these positions. So I want to congratulate them in that also.
Quicker sugar.
Yeah. Oh, you had
I did all send
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So good afternoon, Julie. Thank you so much for such a kind introduction. And I met Julie a while back and I haven't let her go yet. So I always contact her. She is a constant, she's honest, and she's very resourceful. And so we are thrilled to share this with you today. I want to give you just a brief little bit of information on CPE. Usually when they see the Council on Post-Secondary Education, everybody's like, what do you all do? What is your role? And so basically we help oversee, not dictate, but we convene the 8 public universities in all of KCTCS in Kentucky. Excuse me. And so what we do is really try to drive strategically how to improve post-secondary outcomes. And so what we have done in the last 5 years under the direction of my boss, Dr. Aaron Thompson, is to expand beyond our view of higher education. It really is a continuum, as Julie said, from pre-K all the way through into workforce. We're not a stop. We're one step towards career aspirations, quality of life, and being able to take care of yourself and your families. And so we had to really walk ourselves into what does that mean for us and how do we connect with everybody else around us. We have a 60 by 30 goal, which that goal was set a few years ago, where 60% of the working population in Kentucky has degrees or credentials of value by 2030. We have to have that because that's what's going to be required of our workforce. And so we are pushing towards that. And when we say college, just so you know, we mean 2-year, 4-year, whatever the education and training that is needed to get you to that career aspiration for a sustainable wage job. That's what we mean when we say that. So it's not an elitist look of everybody has to do a traditional 4-year or advanced. If that is your career aspiration, then that's where we need you to go. If it is short-term stackable credentials to get you into that role, then that's where we want to help you get to. But you got to know how to do that. So are we making progress? We are. As you can see, we collect data on certificates, short-term certificates, certifications, associate's degrees, bachelor, and graduate professional. And we hold ourselves accountable to this every year, and so do all of our campuses. And the private institutions are great partners with us too. We all want the same thing for Kentuckians. And it's not a public-private thing, a large school, small school. We really do come together and say, what is it going to take for our state? So we're very pleased with the progress, especially since COVID really made it challenging. We were already challenged. And then when the pandemic hit, we had to really, dig in and not let go and keep pushing. We also are really pleased to see that our persistence is on the rise, and our retention. So they persist into a second year and we retain them throughout towards completion. As you can imagine, we had a big, dip right after that 2019 to 2020, because we were losing people. Everybody was virtual. They did not feel connected. And then there were a lot of life things that just happened. So we are really pleased with how that is increasing. That is wraparound student support and engagement from everybody, from community, from families, from campuses, actually employers who really say this is so important. Stick with it. And we're starting to see that. And then we also are always asked about affordability. And we have worked really hard, although it is expensive. We've worked really hard for the school to be more affordable. Our General Assembly is very gracious in the scholarships and grants that they give. Many organizations like you support your communities through scholarship. And so not only is it scholarshiping, but the dual credit that Julie was talking about has grown exponentially. That is a savings when you go to college. So if you have dual credit before and you earn college credit in high school, that typically transfers over, which saves you the cost per credit hour. Because right now it's about $98 per credit hour instead of $300 to $500 per credit hour. Huge savings for students. It allows them to minor. My daughter has a double minor. I know Julie's daughter graduated early. A lot of students can graduate early, they can minor, and then they can, even our first gen low income students say, I don't feel the pressure of taking 15 to 17 hours. I can take a little bit less hours, still be full-time, and figure out how to do this college thing for the first time in my entire family. So there's so many benefits, and we have lots of studies. Dual Credit 3.0 is coming out soon on impact, and it's just incredible. So actually, we have national periodicals who are capturing that data because most people don't collect it, as Julie said. Very data heavy. This is something that we look at as far as our challenges or our barriers. This is probably my favorite report from KY Stats. As Julie said, we are the golden child of data. Really, when you leave the state and you go and talk, they'll say, do you know anything about KY Stats? I'm like, we work with them every day. And they're like, you're so lucky. How do you guys actually get along? Do you guys all get in the same room? And I say, yes, we do. But this report is 7 years after high school. And so what it does is it shows where students or former students land 7 years after high school. It doesn't mean that their on-ramps and off-ramps are over in 7 years, but in 7 years, they're 25, which means they may have children. They may have a spouse or significant other. And where did they fall? And then what's the median range of what they're making? And this is showing that from the 2023 report, 7 years after high school, 12,306 still had a high school diploma only, and their median salary was $27,800. And while that sounds really like, wow, that's a lot of money, that doesn't pay rent. That doesn't pay for groceries and any kind of utilities and things, and then to live, depending on where you live in Kentucky. And you can see that that median salary increases over time. You can always look this up on KY Stats, and you can decipher it by Appalachia. So you can see how much less it is in certain regions. There are male and female and different demographics that you can look up. But this, to me, was our moral imperative. We've got to do better. And we're making gains, but we still have a lot of people, many of these who have some college, 17,564, great, but they may also have debt. And their median salary is $30,000. And so that got our attention. What can we do collectively as a state to address these concerns? In addition, why it's beyond just after high school is that means preschool all the way through 12th grade has to ensure that students are ready academically. They have to be ready with any type of work-based learning or any type of advising to know what's out there. Many of them don't know. And to have opportunities to make plans, to dream, and then how do you get there? So that's where our barrier was. And this was our moral imperative to me. This is what stuck out. And we had the one from 2020 when we kicked this off, or 2021, excuse me. And it looked worse, actually. It was lower. And so we've done better, but we have a ways to go. So how did we continue this momentum? So as Julie mentioned, one of the charges when Dr. Thompson brought me in during the pandemic, I'm a K-12 background. So I've been a principal, I've been a middle school teacher, I've been a curriculum resource instructor, and I'd worked at the Department of Education as their deputy commissioner and associate commissioner. So my whole world was K-12. And he said, I need you to come here. And I said, you don't want me there. Like, I'm not higher ed. And he was like, no, I need you here to connect dots with K-12. And he said, what I want you to do is reestablish that P20 council that died in 2012. So what I did is I read all the research of how it failed because I didn't want to repeat history. I want to make new mistakes. I can tell you in Northern Kentucky, you all do have a foundation, the Grow NKY. It's amazing that you have it because that's been going on for many, many years. And I actually refer people to Northern Kentucky around the foundation and what you guys do collectively as a region. And so we have people come to the table. We have no legislative bite and we have no money and people keep coming because they believe in the power of networking and collaboration to address concerns across Kentucky. And so what we did is we brought together the council in 2021. The Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Thompson, at that time, Commissioner Glass, now Commissioner Fletcher, are the co-leads, the 3 co-leads. And the Lieutenant Governor said, I'm all in, but I'm going to be honest with you, Amanda, I don't think anybody's going to come. This is January 2021. You're going to meet virtually. Don't be upset if no one comes. I was like, well, here we go. We had 30 people show up on Zoom. And they had continued to come 5 years later. So what we did is one of the things that we did as a council is we agreed that we would elevate the voices who have historically not been heard. And that's across Kentucky. Don't assume what works in far west Kentucky works for Northern Kentucky. It's not the same. You have different resources and different challenges. And so we did that. And so one of the areas that we focused on was successful transition to post-secondary, just as Julie said. And one of the #1 complaints was my kid's not getting any advising. Nobody's talking to my child about futures. Nobody's talking to them about college. And when I go to help them, I take an hour to Google everything. I know that we have KEYS money. Is it KEYS, KEES? Like, what are all these acronyms? We don't know it. When I look up Kia, it brings up a car. Like, I am lost. There's too much. And when we started today, there were 9 different websites, which I won't steal Justice's thunder here. And we're like, oh my word. No wonder Kentucky has so many resources. Nobody's under one roof. Horrible experience. And those of us who do have education backgrounds, my husband and I are both educators, my 4 children, we couldn't find things. We didn't know what to call things. So we pulled together groups, as Julie said, that represented role groups, students, counselors, advisors, parents, higher ed, secondary. And we said, what do we do? And they said, we need everything under one roof. And we need the user experience not to know that we're going to 9+ different places. But we didn't want to duplicate the work that's already taking place. So now I will turn it over to you because we are really excited to share with you what is now Futuriti. So if you need to know how to say it, just rhyme it with maturity and blame us for the wonky name. I will tell you, students did vote on this early on. Our goal was not to let it sound like a government website, not to have an acronym that felt elitist, but to make it different enough where people could say, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And, you know, you still have, let's see, what were the I can't think of the names, like Travelocity. That was the example somebody gave. It's like, that's not even a word. Futurity is a word, but not spelled this way because it has to do with horse racing. So we took it on, but we have taken a beating over this name. So just so you know, but we wanted it to be different on purpose because we want common everyday Kentuckians to use this and feel worthy, and not that they have to know acronyms or a state government agency because nobody cares. So I'm going to turn it over to Jess, who has truly, Julie was right, brought this idea and this dream to life. And she is able to interpret all the people who don't know how to put our stuff together to make it work. And she did. So Jess, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, #1, before I jump in, I do want to say my feeling will be heard if you want to scan that QR code or go to futurity.org on your phone while I'm talking and just kind of play around because it's a very large website. There's about 200 pages within the site, not to mention a database with more than 700 occupations listed, all of the public and private universities in the state in our database. So lots to play around with. So if you have any questions at the end of it, we'll be glad to help you through what is actually in the site. But before I really jump in, I do want to say I was born in Northern Kentucky. I was born in Covington. My family lives in Florence. So grew up just at my grandmother's house at 222 Main Street here in Florence. So very excited to be here today. But my whole background has kind of led to this point. I've worked in communications, I've worked in education, I've worked in workforce. I was at the Kentucky State Chamber of Commerce for 10 years, where I really learned what businesses need to attract qualified people to their businesses to work. And Kentucky really has never had that system where everything is in the same place at once. And so when we were kind of brainstorming what this looked like, we really said, okay, we need to put all of these things under one roof, like Amanda was saying. So we tried to not just recreate content, but put things like information about Kentucky's Work Ready Scholarship Program, which if you don't know about that, that is a way for people to get an associate's degree if they are majoring in high demand career sectors for free in Kentucky. I had been working on that marketing project long before I came to CPE when I was at the Cabinet for Workforce and Labor. And since then, I went to KY Stats and we had all this amazing data, but nobody in the state knew about it. You know, we were going all over the country to talk about all the longitudinal data that we have, but people in Kentucky were like, I don't know what kind of jobs are out there. So this project gave us the opportunity to connect all of the dots and tie it all together. So what that looks like is not just a little bit of data, but a lot of data, but not in a way that you have to jump from 10 different dashboards. So this allows you to see the occupational wages of different jobs. It allows you to see where you can go to school to get those jobs. What kind of military, if you have had military service, for example, it lists out the jobs that you would have had in the military and how those relate to civilian jobs. And then it also shows employment projections. So somebody can say, oh, I want to be an actress, but there's only 3 open jobs for actresses in Kentucky. So you can really help students better understand the practicality of the things that they might be interested in. So what that looks like is, it kind of comes to fruition on this page, which is my favorite page of the site, where basically I'm going to click back to it, the slide that Amanda showed, this one, where it shows the different levels of education and how much money you make. This really puts it into perspective for students, because imagine somebody says, you know, I don't want to finish high school. I'm done. I don't like school. I don't want to be here anymore. You can say, okay, let's play that out as far as your future income goes. A person who is a fast food cook is going to make about $22,000 a year. If they stay in school, finish their high school diploma, they have better job outcomes. So they might get about $30,000 a year. But move that forward to say, okay, I want to get a bachelor's degree. That shows if you want to be an education administrator, for example, it's going to be about $86,000 a year. So you can really show students, these are real Kentucky wages, and it helps to kind of put that dollar amount on the phrase that CPE has used for years of higher education matters. It shows why it matters and how much it matters. Futuriti isn't just data though. We like to help people better understand the different sectors of Kentucky's workforce. So these are the 5 high demand sectors as identified by the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. I'll show in a second the jobs within those sectors, But we really, for years, as I was at the cabinet and at KY Stats, I felt like we were talking about all of these at the state level, but we weren't trickling it down to the people who actually need to be making these decisions. The students had no way to access this information. So now all of that lives at Futuriti, and students can learn about those 5 sectors or the emerging sectors. Kentucky has recently identified aerospace and aviation as a huge growing sector. I know it's a big sector here in Northern Kentucky. And then, of course, behavioral health careers. Both of those industries are just really needing high quality skilled workers to meet all of the needs right now. So what that looks like is we're showing people some of the occupations within those sectors, but we're also linking them to scholarship opportunities. So say you want to be a registered nurse, well, that makes you qualified for the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship. So if you click on that, your eligibility, that's going to take you to the KIA website, so that you can learn how you might apply for that Work Ready Scholarship. The same for the Kentucky Aviation Careers page, only for this one, we did something a little different. Because these occupations aren't quite under the Work Ready Scholarship just yet. We're like, well, what else can we put on that page that helps really tell the story of this industry? So we listed all of the employers in the state who are in the aerospace sector. And so those links underneath the names of the companies link you directly to those company websites. So a student doesn't just see the occupations that are out there, but they can actually go to a website where they might see an open job for some of these occupations. The Future Finder database is where all of this information is sourced. So if you're just browsing the database, you can search it by occupation name. You can search it, you can do comparisons, which you'll see in a second. So you can see several different occupations side by side. But the power of it to me is that you can say, I want to be a nurse practitioner. And then it lists all of the schools in Kentucky where you can go to become a nurse practitioner. It lists those wage ranges and the projected employment, so people can really see that this is a meaningful job that has lots of potential for getting hired as soon as you get out of school. This is what I mean by comparing the careers. If you have somebody who's kind of torn between a few different things, they can put these numbers side by side and easily they can say, okay, well, radiation therapists might not have a lot of openings right now, so let's go with nursing assistant. But then they could also say, well, nursing assistant doesn't pay as much. I'd rather do something with a little bit more higher pay. So it really helps people make that informed decision of what their careers could look like. And then school majors are another thing that we help people sort through. So you can see the different majors offered at all of Kentucky's private and public universities. You can see data associated with those. So you see the median wage for people who majored in occupational therapy 5 years after they completed. Once again, that is all due to the work that the Kentucky Center for Statistics does. You can also see how many graduates who went to JCTC actually stayed in Kentucky, and about 80%. So a really robust way of helping visualize what you're going to get after you participate in one of these programs. The top box is one of my favorite things that we were able to do. Is all of the high schools here in Northern Kentucky are probably offering really great career pathway programs, but historically there has been no place for that school to list what program they offered. So if somebody is going to Boone County High School, they can get into Future Finder, use the drop down, select their school, and see what CTE program areas and career pathways are available to them. If they're thinking about moving to Kenton County, they can do the drop down and find out the differences that are offered, because across the state, there's so many differing resources. There's different teaching talent that is available. So what's available in one district or one school within a district might look completely different somewhere else. So we really wanted a way for students to be able to access that information. And then the public university section to me also really helps tell the story of what's out there. Because you can read a little description of the difference between public universities, private universities, community and technical colleges, and those proprietary schools like Bible colleges, barber schools, horseshoeing. All of those are listed on down the page, which you can't see here. But then the metrics are also available, so you can see how much money a student typically pays per year after grants and scholarships are factored in. You can link to the school's website. You can better understand how much loans or debt the student might be taking on after they graduate. And then you don't see it here, but it also shows you where in Kentucky that school is located, providing really good context for students who are still trying to decide whether they want to stay close to home or go a little bit further out. This section really helps students better understand the financial aid options available to them. So it lists out information about filling out the FAFSA. It helps students better understand scholarships and grants. We are in the process of developing a scholarship database within Future Finder. Hopefully that will be live in the early part of 2026. And then this section helps people better understand what's out there in the workforce now. So if you click on that search on open jobs, that's going to take you to the Kentucky Career Center's open jobs portal. So you can go from looking at job projections in Future Finder to actually seeing what's open in Kentucky Career Center's website. We have been, since we launched, we have been expanding. So some of the things that you see on the screen now didn't exist when we launched back last February. We added the military aligned careers, so you can, if you do have military service, you can see what your service equated to in the civilian job force. We added the CTE program area section within Future Finder, so students can see which CTE program area aligns to the occupation they're looking at, so they can do that high school level career planning. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we're doing the scholarship section. We're showing students what apprenticeships are available. And then our last big thing will be to add a business database, like sort of similar to what you saw on that aerospace page, is we're adding a section where a student can say, oh, I want to be an electrician. Where are all the places in Kentucky that hire electricians? So that will be another project that we're working on in 2026. This is what the scholarship section will look like. Right now, it's going to just start with having institutional scholarships. So all of your public and private school scholarships that are offered will be listed. We didn't have the capacity right off the bat to include like local, like your Rotary Club high school scholarships. Just because as you can imagine, there's thousands of them all over the state and we weren't quite able to handle that just yet. But we will hopefully get there. And then this is what our apprenticeship section will look like. We're hoping to have that live at the first of 2026. And here's a preview of what we hope our business section will look like. So this will be where we can help people better visualize if a business offers a high school work-based learning experience. If they hire second chance, or if they're a second chance employer for people who might have a criminal record, or if they do a special push to hire veterans. So there has historically never been a place where you could go to find all of this data, and we really want people to better understand what's out there. Another thing, we just actually got a grant to do this part of the website, is we want people to better understand the wages and how they will actually translate to real life. So say you're looking at a job that will pay about $40,000 a year. We want people to be able to put that in context and figure out how much money that they need to set aside each month for rent, for electric, for other utilities. And this will help kind of tell that story. So we will be working on this throughout 2026 and we'll hopefully launch it in early 27. But there are already some sections on the website. If you go to the budgeting your life section, you'll see a place where you can do this with some national tools, but we want to Kentuckyize it and make it a little bit more closer to home. So that is Futuriti in a nutshell. Once again, please feel free to look at the link. We left some ink pens on the tables for you to take back, so you will remember to share this website with, your loved ones, your grandchildren, children, anybody who's kind of trying to figure out what they want to do, but also share it within your businesses, because we know people kind of just are always trying to better themselves. So if you have employees who are looking to get a post-secondary degree, or if they want to go back to school, this is the place for them to go. So any questions?
What's the difference between persistent and retention rate?
Amanda, you
The persist is beyond first year into their second year. Retain is actually retain them towards completion. So persist is, do we keep them after a year? And then retention is, are they staying complete?
Retention is what?
To stay through to completion, to complete.
The whole program.
Yeah. And the other thing, just to bring up, as Jess just mentioned, is that Futuriti, as Jessica said, it's not just for high school students or middle school, it's for adults also. So we actually have links that take adults, because they are not, they can't easily just up and move. They usually have full-time jobs. They have dependents. And so we interviewed about 1,200 people from middle school all the way through juvenile justice, addiction recovery adults, anybody who would talk to us about what they needed. And so there is an adult component on Futuriti that is different than the high school students and military. So the military family said, give us places to live. Like, where do we go? So on our resources, you'll see that there are counselor resources, but also family resources. And that was even from individuals who are recovering from addiction. That's why we have second choice employer, who many of them have criminal records and want to know how they can find jobs. And we talked to juvenile justice systems. They also were hoping to have information that didn't just make people feel like they had failed once and they could never come out of that. And so we are always evolving this website to really meet the needs of Kentuckians. We've made it very Kentucky-centric, and as Jess said, a lot of the wages that they show nationally are much higher than what Kentuckians make, depending on where they live. And so that's why those wages specific to their regions are really important, that we're honest about what they're actually going to make and what it's going to cost to live.
And we really tried to be intentional about the use of the word college.
Yeah.
Because one of the most powerful lessons I had as we were developing this was, we went to a high school classroom and one of my colleagues started the conversation with, what are your college plans? And 3 or 4 boys in the classroom just immediately put their heads down on their desk and tuned out. So we try to be intentional about talking about what college means and what post-secondary means. And to us, it doesn't just mean going to EKU for 4 years and graduating. It could mean anything from, getting an apprenticeship to joining the military. It's a very robust definition in our heads, but we're working very intentionally to make that messaging known throughout the state, that we don't just mean this for people who want to go to traditional 4-year college. This is for everybody. So I encourage you to share it as you can in your communities and with your family. And please always reach out to Amanda or I at CPE to let us know what questions you have or ideas you have for the future.
Well, I think this presentation was made for me. I had a daughter in that same situation, she's 33. Where do I go from here? So
Yeah, check it out.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
What's the process you have for rolling this out, or already have rolled out to, we go into guidance counselors or school administrators, parents?
Are the students aware of
All
this?
the above.
They're trying to
We
get the word out.
actually launched this in February, and we have done this presentation, it feels like 500 times to all of those groups you mentioned, especially counselors. It is being to help inform the individual learning process, our individual learning plan process within the K-12 system. But it's also being used on college campuses with career development officers.
So if I'm talking to a parent and they're lost, where point?
You point them to futurity.org.
And then they can start in the future finder and then, or there's even like some positions for interest. But I think that's.
Point them to the website.
And a lot of them, if they're using like the youth signs, if they use the youth signs and they have 3 jobs that they really want to know about, you can look that up in the feature finder and it will tell you Kentucky what the projected need is through 2032. So it takes that national health thing because Northern Kentucky does use youth signs so one thing they're a great resource, but it will take it down to the Kentucky level on what's if they want to stay in Kentucky, what institutions offer that. And the projected wage and need.
Thank you.
Okay.
And so to tie in with that, with the work I do with Parent Camp, we do a virtual version of Parent Camp. And so we're partnering with CPE to bring 2 special ones around Futurity. So the first one's January 14th. And then the second one is February 11th from 7 to 8:30, which are free to May 10th. We're partnering with CPE, so they'll have the facilitators and we're providing the platform for it. So it's another place to learn some more.
I have a very, very quick question.
Excellent.
Are the arts covered in this as well?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see much
yeah.
in your presentation,
Yes,
so I was just curious.
There's over 700 jobs
Perfect.
like listed in there. So I think
Okay.
you will see all kinds.
Okay, good.
Well, enjoy your week and we'll see you back here next week for planning and zoning. Have a good. Thank you all.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Awesome.